Previously on the tier list, we went over Battlefield 1 maps. So today we're going to go do the same exercise, but for Battlefield 5 maps. Where will all of them rank? Or better yet, what ones will make me want to gouge my eyes out? Or yours for that matter. Here we go again. Hello folks, it's Morgoth the Barbarian here. Welcome to another interesting tier list where I will tier list stuff. I'll just leave it at that. Today I'm going to focus on Battlefield 5 maps, as last time I did the maps of Battlefield 1, so I figured that we'd repeat the same exercise for 5. Chances are I'll probably do 2042s next week. Oh boy, that one's going to look like a mess and a half. So of course, you know what buttons to hit, and feel free to leave your thoughts about this in the comments section afterwards. But anyways, we got all 19 Battlefield 5 maps down here, and I'm going to tier them in the same level manner as last time. I'm going to reword this. Of course, the God tier maps are up top like last time. And just like last time, we even have a special unplayable garbage category, where if the maps are just so bad, you probably wonder why on earth they even exist. Oh, okay, so there's only 18. Gotcha. I thought there was more 19. My bad. But anyways, so down here, of course, we have all 18 maps. I'm only going to rank them in Conquest mode. Yes, I could rank them in Breakthrough, but that'd be a little bit complicated. So we're going to do it in Conquest mode from whatever this is to whatever this is. So some maps will be awesome, and some maps are going to make me wonder why things happened. Better, or as I like to call them, 2042's inspiration. Oh, that sounded so terrible, but we all know it's true, so. Anyways, enough of me talking. Let's get this party started. And what do we have up here first? Okay, that looks like, once again, these are in alphabetical order. So if my math is correct, this is actually Aerodrome. Okay, so we're starting off with Aerodrome, and I don't know. It's not a map I deal with too much. Again, usually the conquest maps are divided into two camps. Tactical conquest and strategic. I don't know why. I usually focus on tactical maps, so they'll get more of a, more detailed description. So for a map like this, which is tactical, strategic, you probably won't get too much of an explanation, but I have played it enough. I'm probably going to give this a D. The reason being is that the sight lines are just too long. It can be too camp heavy at times. And I think the objectives feel like they're maybe a little bit too spread out at times. But for me, it basically has to do with the fact that people just camp on the sides of the map way too much, and it can get really annoying. And if your team's the one that's doing it, then that's less for the objectives, which just makes it way more too difficult. So Aerodrome gets a D. It's not terrible. I mean, you can move them on the map decently. It's just, there's too many open sight lines and stuff, so if it's too camp heavy, it's going to be lower down here, which seems to be a theme with these maps, I'm sorry to say. Alright, Mercury is next. I'm giving this a C. It's not bad, but the hill at sea is kind of important. Because if you take it, it basically just dictates the whole game, because you have sight over the whole map, basically. Yes, you can move around the map freely, but like with Aerodrome, you've got campers to deal with here. Though they're not as annoying for the most part, so This map is just, it's alright, but not my favorite. I mean, you can do stuff in it, but it's just not my favorite. That, again, the whole hill at sea, that one, trying to get, especially if you're on the British side, and you got the village at D and E, and then you have to go up that hill. It's just like, oh boy. And then trying to get in between those two, even if you get the hill, can be annoying. Same with A and B too. It just is yikes. So I'm gonna give it a C. This is Al Sundin, is it not? Yes, it is, and it is getting an E tier grade. I don't play this map much, but in my slight experience, it is just way too open, way too large. Just the objectives are too spaced out. There's not very much action going on. It's you got the village would only host like one objective in, if I recall correctly. It's just a nightmare. And the thing, this map was the running joke on it was it got postponed because it had some sort of like weird black cloud over it for the longest time that the developers couldn't get rid of. Yeah, it turns out in general this map just has a black cloud over it. So maybe they should have just released it right then and there. It wouldn't have mattered. This map's just not good for Conquest. It's not that great for Breakthrough anyways, if we're being honest, but you know, this map is just iffy at best. It's bad. It's just too large. Moving around can get a little bit tricky, but you know, going from objective to objective, it just sucks. So I'm putting it in the E tier. It's not good. This has to be Merida, doesn't it? Yeah, or is it Provence? All right, it looks like this next map is Merida. I thought it was Provence for a minute, but it's actually Merida. This is actually not bad at all. And maybe just that has to do with the fact that there's hardly any vehicles in it. I'm giving it an A tier. Yeah, the vehicles in Battlefield 5 are just annoying. Let's just point that out right off the bat. Vehicles in BF5 are annoying. They're a bit OP'd. I don't know what happened there, although that could just be Battlefield in general, but aside from a random half track, there aren't any in this map, and it shows how good it is. I think this map is a little bit underrated, although pushing towards in the corridors can be a little bit annoying at times. But smoke grenades can fix that problem. But but overall, this is what I find to be a generally decently enjoyable map. Actually, you know what? I'm going to knock it down a tier just for that advancement issue, specifically around the bridge and the hill on D and all of that. There are some advancement issues there. I have to penalize it slightly. The village can get a little bit obnoxious, especially if people are camping in the upper levels and not getting the objective. But for the most part, it's fun. I kind of like it, so it gets a B tier. Here's Provence right here. I'm actually going to give this one an A. This one just doesn't get played enough by me, simply because it's on the Strategic Conquest playlist, and I don't mess with that one very much. Maybe because, as you'll see, a lot of these maps are just, you know, not that good, at least in that playlist. I think there's a couple that are going in the unplayable garbage department. I can already spoil that now, but I'm not going to say which ones until a little later. But Provence, it's clearly the best map in that whole category, so the village is definitely a lot fun. I know there's a whole part with the windmill and the fields out there. Going there is just boring. If they had just kept it to the village and removed those fields, it would have been great. Although, I guess they had to get vehicles in there somewhere, so whatever. But, you know, there's like a lot of flanking routes. Have good action over there. And even if you go outside the village, it can be quite nice. So I feel like this map is just underappreciated because it gets stuffed in the wrong playlist, the one that were with all the bad stuff, but this map is actually pretty good for the most part, so I would give it an A. Operation Underground is next. Okay, there's only one place to put this. I get it. There's a lot parts with grenade spam. There's only 3 objectives. Getting the B flag on the subway platform stinks. Although there are ways you can get it. Sides, cough, cough. But yeah, this one is just all around chaotic good fun without having to worry about overpowered vehicles. Granted, the weapons do their darndest to make this not god tier, but I feel like this is one of the few places where you can get away with using a shotgun or a 2A or an MMG. I say that because those weapons are just way too OP for their own good. So yeah, I'm putting this in the god tier nevertheless. It's just a great map to be on. So yeah, Operation Underground. Glad to see they put it for Battlefield 5. One hell of a time. Iwo Jima on Conquest. On Breakthrough, it's actually pretty good, although there are parts where getting that first flag can be nuts. On Conquest, though, that's a whole different story. The objectives are just too spread out. I know that there's 2 in the cave, which can be fun, which is really the only way that saves it from being thrown onto the E tier. But if we're being honest, Iwo Jima is not really that great on Conquest. It's just a little too spread out, way too open. Vehicles tend to dominate this map way more than it looks. This map is just not that great. I mean, really, the only fun to be had is in the caves, and even then, there's only 2 objectives out of what, 7? So it's just kind of like Al Sundin, only in the Pacific region. So no, thank you. So the next one on here appears to be Pacific Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our very first unplayable garbage map. I'm putting this at the worst here. Look, it's too big. The objectives are way too spread out. But what puts the icing on the cake is those stupid bushes where people tend to hide and just get you. I mean, come on. Battlefield 5 is already cheap enough with several things going wrong. The weapons, as I've mentioned, vehicles being OP'd. Just cranks all of that to 11, I feel like. And it's just unacceptable playable garbage, especially on Conquest. Breakthrough's a whole different story. It's probably in the mid tier. But on Conquest, absolutely bleeping not, to say the least. This map is just garbage on Conquest. Pacific Storm, it sucks. So I am putting it on the unplayable garbage department. It's just an all-around terrible map. Too many places where people hide and be Battlefield players. I'll just leave it at that. Too large, too many objectives, too many chances for vehicles to be vehicles. It's just everything wrong with this game is just amplified, I feel like, on this map. Especially on Conquest. Breakthrough, okay. Conquest, no. And the same goes with this next map, because I recognize it. That is Wake Island, isn't it? It is. Guess what? You also get to be on unplayable garbage. I know some people love this map. I don't. I've never had an enjoyable experience on Wake Island. And it clearly shows on this map. Same thing, it's also unplayable. In this case, there's just too many places to hide. At least unlike this, the map is smaller, but it's shaped in a C, which by itself is just weird. But I think this is actually arguably the worst map in the entire game. The same Panzer Storm's going to be up here too, wherever it is. I think I see it, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But here on Wake Island, it's just terrible. Breakthrough is terrible. Conquest is terrible. Granted, it's smaller, but there's just too many places to hide. It's just people can see you through bushes while you can't see them. It's just completely unplayable, you know what. And I've never had a good game on Wake Island. I still have not. And probably the bush camping has a lot to do with that. You can tell there's a theme going on too with these. If there's a lot of camping, I just don't like it. And rightfully so. So in this one, it's no surprise. So see, unplayable garbage is Wake Island. Funny how two of the four Pacific maps are unplayable garbage, and the third is on the lowest rung. And this is how this game ended. Ended way too soon, in my opinion. Which brings us to Solomon Islands, the last Pacific map. It's mid. It's okay. Supposedly, it was supposed to be this game's Argonne Forest. It's not. It's like half of it Argonne Forest or whatever. I mean, granted, there's still a lot of like good infantry combat. The village is in the middle is kind of interesting, but it doesn't feel like Argonne Forest. Like the sight lines, the pathways are just a little bit too long. Vehicles are here and they tend to just dominate, which Argonne Forest never had. So this is basically like a poor man's version of Argonne Forest. It's the best Pacific map by far, but on Conquest, it's just all right. Breakthrough is all right too, but not exactly the best map. So Solomon Islands gets a C. Arias is next, and I'm actually going to put it in B tier. It is enjoyable, but trying to get between objectives can be a little bit iffy at times, especially from the village outside because it's a little bit too open. And even the fields don't provide much cover. You know what? Because of all that, I'm dropping it to C. Change of heart. It's going in the mid tier. It's alright, but trying to move between one objective to another is just annoying. It's just not the best experience ever. So, I mean, granted, there's not many campers here. There are a couple places, but there aren't very many. But it just feels like there's not much flow between the objective points, and, you're too much of an easy target going from one objective to the next. Unless you stay in E. E is pretty fun. The middle objective, that is, the village part. And then, of course, there's the parts where the people camp on the church, too. That's enjoyable, but quote unquote. But yeah, this map, it's okay. It's mid. Devastation! God tier. If you don't know, it's got to be God tier. Although I am tempted to put it in A because there are times where players just tend to, hide out. But I can't really penalize this map for things the player base tends to do, aka act like rats, quote. If you know, you know. But other than that, this is just one of the best infantry maps around, all around. It's just lots of great fun. I've popped off quite a few times on Devastation. It's probably, if not the best map in the whole game, without a doubt. So, God tier. It is. Fjell, I don't know the number, but we'll call it Fjell, the mountain map. I think this one's a little underrated. Yeah, sure. I mean, the planes can get annoying, and if they get too overpowered, they can ruin this game. So I can't really advance it above a B, but it's actually not as bad as it looks on the surface. I mean, you can get the objectives pretty simple. There's no tanks. I mean, again, there's the planes, but that's only if someone that knows how to fly just completely dominates the map. But then again, planes in this game are annoying, so what's the difference? But otherwise, you can move around the map quite nicely. Objectives are pretty well thought out. There's plenty of corridors to go around. You can move quite nicely. There's good flow. I think it's a more underrated map or more underappreciated because it's not anything like, say, any of these, for instance, or even Marita. That playlist, so the tactical one. So I think Fjell is a little underrated. So it's a good map. Hamada. You know what? Yeah, it's going in the unplayable garbage department. In fact, this could be a 2042 map, and if you know, you know. This map just sucks. I'll just come out and say it. It sucks. Way too large, way too open, way too much space between objectives. Even going in between the objectives can be convoluted. There's like 3 in one spot, which that part of the map is fine, but good grief, getting to it can be annoying. Just going from one objective to another can be annoying, but even in those 3, it's like you have to check corners constantly, so this map is just unplayable garbage. Oh, and it's a lot worse when the sandstorm is up, too. So I just don't like this map at all. It's just way too open. I mean, this feels like more of like a classic 2042 map than anything else, so no thank you. Narvik is going on the E tier. I don't like this map very much, if at all, if I'm being honest. Too many campers. Too many campers. Also, who thought of the idea of putting 2 linear setups on top of each other? Because that's essentially what this is. You have the ACE line on the top half of the map, and then BDF near the mine on the bottom half, and it's all in a line. And it's like, huh? That doesn't make any sense. And then my personal favorite is like people who will camp on the hill off of the first set that aren't playing the game, who are just there to play this like a mill sim. It's like, what are we doing here? There's just too many corners and spots people can hide in. It just makes the game a lot less enjoyable. And even then, it's also way too open. I don't feel there's enough cover in spots. Literally, the only thing that saves this from unplayable garbage is that it's not very big. I mean, the space between objectives isn't as bad as, say, Hamada or Pacific Storm. So that's really the only thing that saves it from the worst tier, but my goodness, this is not a good map at all. So, yikes. This is Rotterdam. Yes. I'm actually going to throw it in D. This is not exactly my favorite map. It stinks, too, because this is how you get from Operation Underground to Devastation, so I have to go through Rotterdam, which stinks. Long story short, too many places people can hide, and, you know, the subway deck is a nice little sniper's paradise. It's alright, but not the best map. Yes, you can move decently between objectives, but for the most part, trying to get from one to the other can be quite a challenge at times. So, for me personally, this map is just alright, but not the greatest, so I'll put it in D tier. This is Twisted Steel, isn't it? Which, I know what the other one is. So, we'll go do Twisted Steel first. Yeah, I'm also going to put it in E tier as well. This is just not that good of a map. Once again, too open. Once again, too many space between objectives. And vehicles just easily dominate this. And if you control the bridge, you basically control the whole map. It's just way too, like, open for the most part. And trying to get between objectives is just a hassle at times. The bridge combat is really the only thing that saves this. I will say that on Breakthrough, this map is definitely a lot better than the Conquest version, but we're grading this on Conquest, so, you know, on Conquest, I feel like Twisted Steel just isn't that good. Literally, the bridge is the only thing that saves this. Otherwise, this is just a mess. And we end this with Panzerstorm. And it's fitting because I think this is the worst map in the whole game. Funny how we conclude with the worst map in the whole game, which means it goes here on unplayable garbage. This, in my opinion, is just the absolute worst map in the game, and this must have been where DICE got their inspiration for 2042 comes from. Long story short, it is large and open with no cover whatsoever. Now, where have we seen maps like that? It's almost as if the next game after this was inspired by this map, like I said. Yeah, I hate Panzerstorm. It's unplayable here. It's unplayable on Breakthrough unless you're driving a tank, basically. Basically, it's a map made for vehicle players. I don't know who in their right mind thought it would be great for infantry, but if you're a vehicle player, you love this map, it's probably God tier. But most people in their right minds would not play this. And if you're not a vehicle player, you're absolutely going to hate this map. I am not one of those people, admittedly. But yeah, this is just unplayable garbage. It's the worst map in the game, in my opinion. So, no thank you for this in Conquest. Should have put this on Battlefield 2042, dang it. So, there's my tier list, and it's a lot worse than my Battlefield 1 tier list, as you can see. Only 2 God tier maps and 1 A tier. My goodness, this game definitely kind of fell off a cliff, especially with most of the 19 being, almost half of them being E or just unplayable garbage. And if you think that's bad, wait until the 2042 tier list next week. You know what? I'll do it. I'll do the 2042 list next week. So how about that? So anyways, leave your thoughts in the comments section below, whether you agree or disagree with me. Again, this is based off of Conquest. On Breakthrough, this would look a little bit different. Some maps would be higher, some maps would be lower, and some maps would just be stuck here for all of eternity because that's where they belong. So anyways, I'll repeat this same exercise with 2042 next week, so you know what buttons to hit to keep tabs on that, and of course, I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace out, y'all.